One of the most important movements in the history of modern India was non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement was a movement of passive resistance against British rule. And this movement was initiated by father of the country, Mahatma Gandhi. To resist the dominance of British government and advance the Indian national cause, the non-cooperation movement was a non-violent movement that prevailed nationwide resentment by Indian National Congress against under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. So the people of India were already angry against the British rule. They wanted leadership. They wanted to protest. They were not happy with what was going on in the country. And this was the time when Mahatma Gandhi was seen as the leader. This movement took place from September 1920 to February 1922 and initiated Gandhi era in the independence movement of India. Now there were certain acts which caused resentment, lot of anger in the peasant farmers, a normal common Indian. The Rowlatt Act, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and the martial law in Punjab. Now these three main events caused the native people not to trust British government anymore. So the trust factor among the common masses was lost. Now Montagu Chelmsford report with its diarchy form of government could satisfy very few, the moderates who wanted to work with the government and come out with a solution. Until Gandhi believed the justice and fair play of the British government. But after this incident, he felt that non-cooperation with government in a non-violent way must be started. Now the reforms which the Britishers wanted to bring in India was divide and rule. They wanted to create a rift between Hindus and Muslims so that they fight against each other, and this moment can be taken advantage by Britishers and divide the country on the basis of religion. And once Gandhi realized that the justice and fair play of British government, which he always believed, was no more, and that's why he started non-cooperation. And the biggest pillar of non-cooperation was non-violence, ahimsa. In the meantime, the Muslims in India were also against Britishers because of the Treaty of Sevres between Allies and Turkey, and they started Khilafat movement. So the Muslims were also against the Britishers. Gandhi also decided to stand besides them, along with Muslims. Gandhi ideas of winning over Muslim support also helped in non-cooperation movement. The government wanted to divide the country on the basis of religion, and now because of Khilafat movement, the Muslims also came along. And this was an opportune moment for Gandhiji to realize that this unity of Hindu and Muslims can be used and can be leveraged to gain freedom for the country. Gandhi had given notice to Viceroy in his letter on 22nd June in which he had affirmed the right recognized from the time immemorial of the subject to refuse to assist a ruler who misrules. So he gave Britishers a warning that since they are misruling, since they are dividing the people and they are oppressing the struggle, the freedom of the masses, he will not accept this form of government. After the notice had expired, the non-cooperation movement was launched formally on 1st of August 1920. This was the historic day. At Kolkata session on September 1920, the program of the movement was started. The program of non-cooperation involved the surrender of titles and offices and resignation from nominated posts in the government bodies. Most of the Indians surrendered their titles, gave up the job, resigned from their positions just to show its cooperation with the movement. It included not attending government duties, darbars and other functions, withdrawing children from government schools and colleges, and establishment of national schools and colleges. Now, this was again a time of reform of Indian society, of the educational values. Indians now started to believe on their own culture and started to establish national schools and colleges. No parent would want to send their child to a government school run by Britishers. The people of India were interested to boycott the British court and establish the private judicial courts. This was again a big jolt to the Britishers. Now, Indians wanted to establish their own judicial code and did not even have the faith on British law and order. The Indians should use Swadeshi cloth and boycott the foreign clothes and other things. This was what made the movement even strong. Gandhiji believed that Indians should use what is produced by Indian. Gandhiji strictly advised the non-cooperators to observe truth and non-violence. The decision taken in Kolkata session was supported in Nagpur session of the Congress on December 1920. The decision was also taken for the betterment of the party organization. Any adult man or woman could take Congress membership for 4 annas as subscription, because Congress wanted to increase and bring as many people as it can be possible in this movement. The Congress wanted this movement to be massive. The entire country should come together and fight against the oppression of Britishers. This adoption of new rule gave a new energy to non-cooperation movement from January of 1921, and the movement gained a new momentum. Gandhiji, along with Ali brothers, went to a nationwide tour during which he addressed the Indians in hundreds of meetings. In the first month of movement, about 9,000 students left schools and colleges and joined the national institutions. During this period, about 800 national institutions were established all over the country. The educational boycott was most successful in Bengal under the leadership of Chittaranjan Das and Subhash Chandra Bose. So the Indians were not going to school, they were not attending offices, they gave up all that Britishers gave to them, because they wanted to show British that this was the time when the entire country is united and they will fight against any oppression by the Britishers on Indians. In Punjab also, the educational boycott was extensive under the leadership of Lala Lajpat Rai. The other active areas were Bombay, Bihar, Orissa, Assam, Uttar Pradesh. The movement also affected Madras. The boycott of law courts by lawyers was not successful as the educational boycott was. The leading lawyers like Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das, Mr. Jaikar, V. Patel, Asaf Ali Khan, S. Kichlu and many others gave up their lucrative practices, and many followed their path inspired by their sacrifice. So even the lawyers, the law officers were in support of non-cooperation movement. Now Bengal again led in this matter, and Andhra, UP, Karnataka and Punjab followed the state. However, the most successful item of non-cooperation was boycott of foreign clothes. Now, unless and until you hit the Britishers economically, they will not get the impact of the resistance. And this was the time when Britishers came to understand that Indians, if they boycott using their products, they will not be able to sustain themselves in the country. It took such an extensive form that value of import of foreign clothes reduced from 102 crores in 1920-21 to 57 crores, almost half reduction. Although some of the veteran political leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandrapal, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Annie Besant opposed Gandhiji's plan, but the younger generation supported him. Well, there will always be people within your own community, within your own country, who will not be with you in terms of your ideology. But that doesn't mean that they will not support freedom of the country. They didn't believe in the means, but all of them wanted India to get freedom from Britishers. Muslim leaders like Maulana Azad, Mukhtar Ahmad Ansari, Hakim Majmal Khan, Abbas Dayabji, Maulana Muhammad Ali, and Maulana Shaukat Ali also supported him. In the month of July 1921, the government had to face a new challenge. Muhammad Ali and other leaders believed that it was religiously unlawful for Muslims to continue in the British army, and they were arrested for their view. Even the Muslims now started to revolt against Britishers. Gandhi and other leaders supported Muhammad Ali and issued a manifesto. The next dramatic event was visit of Prince of Wales on 17th November 1921. The day on which Prince boarded on Bombay port, the day was observed as Hartal Divas all over India. The Prince was greeted with empty streets and closed shops wherever he went. The non-cooperation gained more and more energy at their success and became more aggressive. The Congress volunteer corps turned into powerful parallel police. They used to march in formation and dressed in uniform. So there was a volunteer group of Congress who tried to bring the people together, make them understand the non-cooperation movement. Congress had already granted permission to the Provincial Congress Committee to sanction total disobedience, including non-payment of taxes. Now, these small Congress committees at provincial levels, at district levels, used to mobilize people and make them come together with Congress to fight against the British under non-cooperation movement. The non-cooperation movement had other effects also, which are not very direct. In UP, it became difficult to distinguish between non-cooperation meeting and a peasant meeting. So now even farmers meeting were considered to be non-cooperation meeting because everywhere this was the only discussion. In Malabar and Kerala, the Muslim tenants roused against the landlords. Even the Muslim tenants were not happy with the landlords. In Assam, the labourers of tea plantation went with strike. In Punjab, the Akali movement was considered as a part of non-cooperation movement. So every region, every state, there was resentment, and people started to look at the success of non-cooperation as a form of expression. The non-cooperation movement particularly strengthened in Bengal. The movement was not only seen in Kolkata, but it also agitated the rural Bengal, and the elemental awakening was observed. The movement reached the climax after the Gurkha assault on coolies on river port in Chandapur on 20th and 21st May. The whole eastern Bengal was under the lash of movement under the leadership of J.M. Sen-Gupta. The other example was anti-union board agitation in Midnapur, led by Birendranath Sashmal. As the non-cooperation movement proceeded, the women of India, especially from Bengal, wanted to take active part in the protest movement. Now, this was the time which was the time of unity. In fact, the women who were considered to just do the household works also wanted to come together and fight against the Britishers. The women nationalists were assembled under the Mahila Karma Samaj or Ladies Organization Board of Pradesh Congress Committee of Bengal. The ladies members of the organization arranged meetings and circularized the spirit of non-cooperation. Women volunteers were enlisted to take part in the movement. The ladies from many respected families led them. C.R. Das' wife Basanti Devi and sister Urmila Devi, J.M. Sen-Gupta's wife Nelly Sen-Gupta, Mohini Devi, Labanya Prabha, Chanda played significant role in this movement. Now you can imagine if women of the country start to come and join a movement at such a massive scale, what impact it would have been made at that time on Britishers. Picketing of foreign wine and cloth shops and selling of khadar in the street were the point of attention of the movement. The government was rattled. They didn't know how to react. The government proclaimed Section 108 and 144 of the Code of Criminal Procedure at various centers of agitation. They started to use force, violence against peaceful protesters. The Congress Volunteer Corps was declared illegal by Britishers. By December 1921, more than 30,000 people were arrested from all over the country. Except Gandhiji, most of the prominent leaders were inside jail. In mid-December, Malviya initiated a negotiation which was not conclusive. The conditions were like that if offered sacrifice for Khilafat leaders, which Gandhiji could never accept. Gandhiji always wanted the Hindus and Muslims to be united in this movement. At that time, Gandhiji was also under pressure from the higher leaders of Congress to start the mass civil disobedience. Gandhiji gave an ultimatum to the government, but the British government paid no attention to it. In response, Gandhiji initiated a civil disobedience movement in Bardoli Taluka of Surat district of Gujarat. Unfortunately, at this time, the tragedy of Chauri Chaura occurred that changed the course of the entire movement, where a mob of 3,000 people killed 25 policemen and one inspector. Gandhiji, who was in support of complete non-violence and incident, was shocked, did not know how to react. He ordered to suspend the movement at once. Now he believed that people of India were not mature enough to handle and take forward this movement. On February 12, 1922, the non-cooperation movement totally stopped. There were limitations in achievements of non-cooperation movement, as it apparently failed to achieve the objective of securing Khilafat and changing the misdeeds of Pakistan. The Swaraj could not have been achieved in a year as it was promised. The retreat of February 1920 was only temporary. 1922. The movement slowed down gradually. The part of battle was over, but the war continued. And it was not the last movement which India saw. There were many movements and many uprisings which were to come in the future, and the Britishers had to face